Elite Facts presents
6 films that were originally banned in theaters.
6.
Last House on the Left. Not to be confused with the 2010 remake, this film was essentially an early exploitation film by Nightmare on Elm Street director Wes Craven and Friday the 13th crew Sean Cunningham and Steve Miner. 2 schoolgirls stop into a dope house hoping to buy some marijuana, but instead they fall victim to the illustrious David Hess and his friend. The girls are subjected to various forms of sexual humiliation before being tortured with a razor, raped, disemboweled, and shot. The evil men then dump the bodies in a nearby park but end up running from the police. They hold up in a nearby house which just happens to be the home of one of the girls' parents. After discovering what the 2 fugitives have done, the rest of the film spends its time showing the parents inflicting similar torture as revenge on Hess and his friend by means of axe, chainsaw, throat slashing, and castration. This release was uncut in terms of gore, but edited out a 5-minute scene of 2 goofy cops trying to hitch a ride on a chicken truck. Martin Covey, who went on to star in the 1980s cop show Cagney and Lacey and the film The Karate Kid, has a small role as a sheriff's deputy. The film's official synopsis is as follows. On their way to a concert, Mari and her best friend become the victims of merciless convicts who take them into the woods and submit them to physical, mental, and sexual torture. Unaware of the impending vengeful retaliation Mari's parents will unleash upon them.
5.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One of the most iconic slasher flicks out there, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre features a cannibalistic, disfigured killer who hunts down his victims and wears their skin, something 5 friends learn the hard way. The film is a gory take on an already violent genre, and for that reason it has been banned in various places around the world. The film was marketed as a true story in order to gain viewers, but the plot was entirely fictional, although the film was very loosely based on the real-life murderer Ed Gein, who kept tokens from his victims in his house, which began some of the controversy. But the main problem came with the excessive violence, which resulted in the film being banned in many countries, including the UK. Still, the film helped to pioneer the characteristics of the stereotypical slasher killer, defining them as faceless, weapon-wielding, burly, and ominous characters. 4. Driller Killer. This early offering from the now mainstream director Abel Ferrara, best known for The Bad Lieutenant, was one of the main films responsible for kicking off the video nasties furor by the media after the distributors, Vipco, started taking out full-page color ads in various video magazines showing the graphic video box cover. Ferrara actually plays the part of the lead character under the pseudonym Jimmy Lane, who goes around cleaning the streets of homeless lowlifes by means of a cordless power drill, although these scenes only make up a fraction of the film's running time. It's more of an arty sort of movie than a horror picture. Watchable, though relatively boring and unremarkable, the distributors were successfully prosecuted for obscenity prior to the VRA. The film was uncut in terms of gore, but had been trimmed a couple of minutes to fit into a 90-minute tape. The film has recently been remastered and re-released in America on Blu-ray, but oddly, it's still banned in the UK. Who would have thought that films like this could still be banned, considering some of the recent horror films that have come out?
3.
The Exorcist. This is the story of Reagan, a young girl possessed by a demon and exhibiting uncharacteristic violence and vulgar language, and it was shocking for many at the time of its release. The film was far ahead of its time in numerous ways and is often cited as one of the scariest movies ever made, in part due to its based on a true story nature. Though horror fanatics see it as innovative and iconic, it also wasn't everyone's cup of tea, partly due to the horrific plot and shocking series of events, and largely due to the religious content of the film. Many individual cities, states, and countries banned the film. In the UK, the film was initially released in theaters, but was not legally classified for a video release until 1990. There are stories of paramedic calls to treat shocked moviegoers that had fainted or gone into hysterics, solidifying it as a horror film ahead of its time.
2.
The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead is the quintessential horror film for any film buffs out there. Originally starting out as a short film written and directed by Sam Raimi back in 1979 as a college project, which was then titled Within the Woods, The Evil Dead is more or less a possession story on steroids. The film centers around 5 friends who decide to go on a trip out to the cabin in the woods in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In the film, the group discovers that the cabin was once the home of an archaeologist named Professor Raymond Noby, and in that cabin they discover an audio log with him conducting research, an ancient Kandarian dagger, and the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which translates to the Book of the Dead. After playing the tape and reading from the book, demonic spirits from another world are unleashed, and they wreak havoc on those in the cabin. To say the film is shocking would be an understatement, and though it's become an iconic film in the horror genre, it's also stirred up a bit of controversy as well. The film features numerous torture scenes and countless shocking violent images, and one very, very unsettling scene involving a tree vine. We're not going to go into details on that one. While critics complain of misogynistic undertones and extensive, unnecessary violence, most theaters played the film anyway. But due to the film's graphic violence, it's been banned in several countries, including Iceland, Ireland, Finland, and Germany.
1.
A Clockwork Orange. Considered by many to be one of Stanley Kubrick's greatest works, A Clockwork Orange follows Alex DeLarge, an ultra-violent protagonist that leads a gang he calls his Droogs on a murderous spree. A Clockwork Orange is set in a dystopian future where the young adults have the freedom to roam the streets, beating up on other gangs and assaulting women as they please. It's a disturbing insight into the possibilities of a youth gone wrong. The film showcases this spree in disturbing detail, as well as Alex's capture and attempted rehabilitation through aversion therapy, which the government hopes to be able to implement to diminish the growing crime problems. The film is still noted for its violence and disturbing images. Based on Anthony Burgess's 1962 novella of the same name, Stanley Kubrick's 1971 film has been deemed groundbreaking, but not by all. In 1971, the British Board of Film Classification reviewed the film in its entirety, ultimately deciding it should be released. However, controversy continued on in the wake of the film, as violent copycat crimes occurred, modeling themselves off of the film. Disagreeing but ultimately defeated by the public, Kubrick delayed the release of the film in the UK, eventually pulling it from release altogether. In its US release, Kubrick had to cut a part of the film to transition from an X rating to an R, and in 2000, 27 years after it was banned, the film returned to British screens.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.